Hello again, Lockpicking Paul here, and this is a follow-up video to a short I did to show off a Thumbturn bypass tool for the Covert companion. And as I showed on the video, it works pretty well. Just reach in, there you go. Brilliant, works a treat. But before I talk about how to make this, there's a bit of evolution to go through first of all. The first Thumbturn tool I made was this, and it's a, I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll zoom in. It's out of a piece of piano wire. This is, I think it's 1.4, 1.5 millimeters. And it works fine enough on some Thumbturns, although not as many as I would hope, largely because this wire is just too thick to get down the keyway. And even in some of the wider keyways, it can get jammed. So it's just really not thin enough. It's nice and rigid, works a treat, but it's just too thick. So that led to me getting some 0.8 of a millimeter stainless spring wire, which you can get on Amazon, and this worked much better. Slips into every keyway, a treat. The problem with this, it's way too bendy, way too thin, and it will turn the cam, although not terribly reliable, and it tends to wind up. Notice how the cam is only just turning, and I've got this thing turned nearly 180 degrees. Eventually it will go, but it acts like a bit like a spring, which is not much good to anybody. So I'm not quite where I needed to be with this. And I thought, how can I make it more rigid? Well, I'd already made a little handle for it by twisting the wire back on itself. And that's very rigid. So I thought maybe I can twist all the way down the shank up to the point where the wire goes into the lock body. That would mean that there would be much much less wire for wind up, for being bendy or twisty, but it'd still be narrow enough to get down the keyway. So I ended up making this. And it's very rigid. There's not much flex in this end piece, but it's flexible enough to negotiate a difficult keyway without getting jammed in there. So that's quite good. Now, how to get a twist, I used a bit of a fancy tool, to be fair. Just zoom out and show you this thing. He said. So these are, I used to build racing cars, and this is a safety lock wire twisting tool. And it allows you to twist wire very neatly. It's a bit of a fancy tool, to be honest. Not many people are going to have these, I think, lying around. You can use regular locking pliers, so something like mole grips or something like that. What you do is you take a strip of wire, bend it around a nail held in a vise, clamp your pliers onto both ends of a wire, or in this case, one end of the wire, and then you need to leave a tag length here. Grab that, and then you can just gently, and I do mean gently and slowly, twist the wire around on itself. Why be gentle? Other than the fact that this stuff could break, and it does break. If you're doing it too quickly, the wire will whip around, catch your finger, like I did the other night, and you can get quite a nasty cut with this if you're not careful. So it can produce quite sharp edges. So definitely take your time with it. So anyway, this is what I ended up with, and just to show, it works really well. He said, slipping off of the cam. Yeah, it works really well. So then I thought, right, can I shrink it? Can I get, because it was the loop. That loop is what happens when you put it over the nail, twist it. You're left with a little loophole. And I thought that's about the same diameter as the spars on the Covert Companion. I'll see if I can shrink it, because the Covert Companion, technically speaking, would be the handle. So, and I've actually dropped it on the floor. There it is. What I came up with was this. This is actually the first one I made. It's marginally too long and the hole is marginally too large, so this one's left over. But that's all it is. And so it slots onto the Covert Companion in the same way that any of the other tools do. Forming the end, by the way, this bit here, not a precise art, but if you grab the tip with some needle nose pliers and just rotate about 230, 240 degrees, bring it back on itself, that's what you end up with. So that's the tip. And that just slots into the cam and grabs it. But experiment. Different shapes, different sizes tend to work better on different locks. But that's all there is to the tool. It's really very simple, but because of the twist down the shank, it's very rigid. You've got very little to sort of wind up or get bendy inside the lock. So it's a very effective, very thin cam bypass or thumb turn bypass or cam turner, depending on how you want to view it. So, if you wanted to make one for your Covert Companion, it's just 0.8 of a millimeter spring wire and quite a lot of time with some pliers. And that's it for this evening. I hope you found that interesting and possibly useful. So, good luck with your picking. Cheers.